I just wanted to first say hello to everyone here and thank you for joining. So please, or calling, where you're viewing from. Looks like Leslie's back. I'm adding her to the stream. And so, what I'd love you to do, let me know where you're from, what you're drinking. I'm over here. I'm in Alexandria, Virginia, and I have a massive water bottle because that's what I do. Hey, Leslie.
Hello, I'm sorry I'm late. Technical difficulties.
No worries, you're here.
It
So glad
happens.
you're here. Where you tell everyone where you're coming in.
So I'm calling in from New York City, where it feels like fall today.
Yes.
Like yesterday being in the 80s, today is in the 50s.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's so great. Same here. But we have some people all over the world here. It looks like we have somebody from France.
Oh, hello.
Oh my gosh, jealous. How is it over there? How's the temperature? And I know we're talking in Fahrenheit.
We really are international today. So we have France, Virginia, Hong Kong.
Let's see, there's Kimberly. Hey, Kimberly. Oh, thank you. I feel a little bit better. Although Leslie knows I've had one of those mornings. So thank you so much, though. I appreciate it. There's Angel.
And I love Kimberly's advice. Hydration is key.
Yes. That's where we got. We got to keep going. And do you see how massive this thing is? Like the size of my head. Awesome.
I love it. So who else wants to chime in and tell us where you're calling in from? Oh, my friend Hella is here calling in from France.
Wow, we're like big with the French world.
I love it. And I wonder if Hella and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, Diana know each other. That would be cool.
It's a big country, Leslie.
We have a surprise from upstairs.
Of course. And there's my husband. He's always he's our biggest fan. But we are excited to be here.
And we're just chatting while we're letting everyone log in. And we're really glad you're here because this is going to be a great conversation.
Yeah, very interesting topic, pay transparency.
Hot topic for sure. Yeah. So should I get started?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and tell everyone.
Well, thank you for all of you that are already here and for all of you that are checking in as I'm talking. Let's introduce ourselves. My name is Leslie Neidick. I go by that I'm the conflict strategist, of course. And a quick way of saying what I do, I help those stuck in conflict get unstuck.
That's a great way. And let me tell you, there's a lot of people who are in conflict, right? And in the workplace. So
there's no shortage of conflict. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. And so I'm Ann Genduso. I'm a career and leadership coach, and I specialize in helping women in particular increase their salary, become better leaders. So doing all that, though, without sacrificing work-life balance, which also everyone knows they don't like that term. So we'll say work-life harmony.
I love it. It is because balance for some implicates that it's supposed to be even. Harmony.
Yeah. And I don't even like the word integration because integration means that you're never turning up. So I'm all about the harmony. But today we're going to be talking all about pay transparency, why it's good not only for job seekers, but it's also good for business. So we'll break this down and we're going to share 5 reasons why companies should include pay ranges in all job posts. So before we dive in, though, we want to hear from you. Have you ever gotten to the job offer stage only to find out that the salary is well below what you expected? Leslie, what's been your experience?
So my experience has been, and it's from the past because now I'm not working for someone else, I'm working for myself. I never had a job where I didn't know ahead of time at least the range or the minimum. So it just really, it's been kind of surprising to me of how untransparent it's become because for me, my experience from early positions as well as management positions that it was always fairly transparent and it wasn't a huge surprise.
I mean, that's so rare now, I feel like. But that's incredible. And are you saying that it was right on the job post, or were you finding that in the phone screen or in the interview?
Both, but it never went beyond. When I went to the interview, I knew that we were a good match because we were in range. Now, of course, there was always a negotiation to get at the high point of the range, but I
Yeah.
knew what I was walking into.
Yeah. Well, I'll answer this and just say, for me, I've never, gosh, I'm trying to remember. I don't know if I made it all the way to the job offer stage. I certainly have made it past some interview rounds, but this was earlier in my career when I didn't know exactly how to push and ask, especially when companies might turn it around and say, well, no, what are you making? Instead of telling me the range. So I will say I don't know if I've ever interviewed where it's actually been in the job listing, but found out quite early on, which is exactly what Jessica's saying here. Hey, Jessica.
I love this advice.
Yeah. So she's saying, no, she's never gotten to that all the way to the offer because you should ask the budget for the role during the phone screen. And just for those of you who don't know, Jessica is actually a recruiter as well. She has plenty of years of this. So this is some advice to really listen to.
Great. And I see now Stephen Eng from New York has checked in.
Hey, Stephen. I got a chance to do a coffee chat with Stephen yesterday. So that was lovely. And Leslie, I hear you're meeting with him tomorrow.
I am. I didn't realize that they were kind of timed so few days apart. That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, what's Kimberly sharing with us? I'm reading it as I'm seeing it. Salary ranges are not given on the faculty side until the final interview. And that's interesting, Kimberly. I am an adjunct faculty, and we pretty much know what we're going to be paid ahead of time because there's a union, so it's predetermined.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how unknown it was on the full-time at faculty side. That's interesting.
Yeah. It's so interesting on all sides, right? There's different industries that do different things. So
love it. So let's this is why you're here to talk about pay transparency. So let's get into it. So in short, what do we mean by pay transparency? It's that openness about compensation ranges, which has been mentioned in the comments already. And it's within a company as well as externally when they're posting compensation ranges in the public job descriptions. So as we all know, and this is why you're here to listen to us, this is a trending topic in the world of work.
Yeah.
Inc. magazine has called 2022 the year of pay transparency. I think they've got it right. LinkedIn listed pay transparency among its ideas that will change the world in 2022. Now, that statement has a lot of impact, and I don't think that's so far from the truth. So, while some companies are voluntarily disclosing the pay ranges on the job posts, it's also becoming required through the equal pay laws being enacted across America. And depending on what state you're living in, the situation could be very different. Colorado's got laws already on the books.
Yeah.
California has a law that was already passed by their legislature, and the governor is expected to sign it at the end of this month. New York City passed a law much earlier this year, and it's going to go into effect in November. Yeah. And of course, there are states like with other laws on the books, and there's a wide range of what's required or not required.
Yeah, there's already, I think there's Maryland, Washington, a few other states that have, it's different parts of the process, right? Whether it's required in the job posting or after the first interview or upon request.
Sure.
But yeah. Now, as Leslie's saying, it's a hot topic. I will say, just chime in from my own experience, that anytime I post about pay transparency, you all comment a ton. So I know that this is something people really are talking about. But not everyone's happy about pay transparency, right? They're not always happy about the laws, or beyond the law, just voluntary pay transparency. And some companies are pushing back. So there was a 2022 pay clarity survey from WTW, an advisory firm, and they found that nearly 1/3 of employers aren't ready for this kind of transparency. So that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I hear that, but we'd love to ask you, why do you think some employers wouldn't want to list the pay ranges in the job posts?
Yeah. What
do you think, Leslie?
Yeah. I feel like, why isn't it transparent? What is the secret?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of reasons. And we'll definitely get into that. Just curious if anyone here, I know there's sometimes a lag.
I love this comment, like Hella wrote, I'm normally asked to give an idea of the salary before the organization will tell what they have in mind. It's like playing poker. Absolutely. And why is it? This is a long-term relationship. Do we want to start it where we're holding back information?
Yeah. No, that's really great. I love the playing poker comment, because it's like you got to call their bluff, and it's the whole concept of negotiation, and perhaps negotiation may not even be a thing if you had, or not as much of a thing, or as an anxiety producing thing, if you had at least a range to deal with in the beginning.
Exactly.
So we'll move on. If you have any ideas, let us know. But I will tell you a couple here. So back to that same survey that talked about only 1/3 of employers saying that they're not ready, right? They said about 30% of those people say that it's admin, right? It's too complex to figure out and roll out admin wise. As part of that, I think that's because it is that you have different pay bands, and they're trying to figure out, and maybe it's because they're not equal.
Yes.
25% of those cite lack of clear job architecture, which is just unfortunate and kind of crazy. 25%, so a quarter, most people are saying we don't have our job descriptions like up to par. We don't know if the responsibilities are different or where you ladder up to next. So it's just not clear. So that's a big problem right there. Oh, let's see. We have a couple of respondents too. So before I get to the next one, Steven says it's like a chess match. So that's a good one. So we got poker and chess. What other games do we have?
Exactly.
Yeah. And let's see, Jessica. There we go. Challenges internally with benchmarks, right? And bottom line costs associated with bringing people up. It's a good one. Yep.
Really important.
Or employees that are above the line. That's such a great point, because especially when tenure is also included in there, and the tenure of years that people have worked there, and if they have pay increases, whether they're merit increases or cost of living, those on the higher end of experience and or tenure can have a really high, a higher pay grade, and sometimes it's not exactly equitable. So it makes some issues there. Yeah, job architecture. Yep. And so the last one that I have on here, and this goes into that, and that's 46% of employers responded that employee reactions or possible employee reactions are a reason they hold back. Leslie, what do you think about that and what that could mean?
Well, the more I hear about their feedback, that one, I think may be really what's driving it. They're just afraid of the transparency is going to reveal the lack of equity.
Yeah, I think so too. I think if they're, especially if when we talk about equity, and we'll go into that in a minute, but we'll reveal that like maybe what's being offered externally isn't the same as the people who have been there for a while, and so maybe they're afraid of that, and there needs to be some change to that architecture, right? Sure. Oh, we have Adam had another one. Culture. Oh, no, the unwritten rules. Oh, those are the ones that always get you, right? The unwritten rules of like, we just don't talk about it. We don't share salary info.
Right.
It's a good one.
Absolutely. And then, I mean, certainly there's been pushback, and I'll just use New York City as the example. The law that was passed earlier in the year was supposed to be implemented May 1st. Well, a whole bunch of employers lobbied and got that delayed to November 1st. And that wasn't all that they got changed, of course. They wanted changes to the actual law. And there's things like they'll now have, after they've been warned, they'll have 30 days to correct the violations without any penalties. Now, this one is very interesting to me, and I'm going to read further into it, but only current employees can sue the employer for not including the salary ranges in the postings. So
the applicants can't, but the current employees. Okay. All right.
Yes. So will the current employees sue their current employers? Well, many won't. Another issue is that the employers only need to include what's referred to as good faith salary ranges. For me, this is my biggest concern. How will good faith be defined, and how will it get implemented? In the end, it's going to be up to employers, but I hope they're listening and finding out. People want to know, and there's reasons for it.
It's so fascinating. It's interesting that we're watching this roll out in real time, right? Like these are things that are happening right now. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think one of the things, just I want to add to that, Leslie, about the employers pushing back in New York City, I think a part of that, and they've said that, is the administrative issues and the job architecture. So I think that's what they wanted a little bit more time to work on when it comes, because this isn't just salary. This is hourly. This is everything, right?
Yes. And then, of course, there's issues with if you're a nationwide company, you're dealing with the laws in New York, you're dealing with whatever Colorado, has, what California's come up with, and all the other places that already have something. It is an administrative challenge.
Yeah, it's complex. It really is. Yeah.
Is state separately.
Yeah, for sure.
So I really want to get into why you're here. The 5 reasons why pay should be in all the job posts. First, it saves time and money on all sides of the job search process. There's hours spent in interviews with finding people, and why should there be a surprise at the end and find out there's such a mismatch? You prefer the match.
Definitely. I mean, like you said, it's on both sides, right? Because you have the applicant who's like potentially paying for commuting costs and all that good stuff. Exactly. And then you have the hiring manager too.
Absolutely. Number 2, it shows the company values equity. There's a few points to make. Pay transparency supports pay equity. It's compensating employees who have similar job functions with comparable equal pay, regardless of their gender, race, ethnicity, and other status. They'll all know, like, oh, wow, there really is equity here, or not, and we need to correct it. Pay transparency closes that gap between genders and races, and the gap affects women of color the most. There's enough studies showing this.
Yes.
And last but not least, as part of this, when companies include the ranges for open positions, the job seekers and the existing employees can see the pay scales for each job function. And the assumption is the existing employees are falling within those ranges. And if they're not, that's when employees can figure out, like, hey, maybe I need to make a choice and leave. And many do. Or maybe they won't if the employer considers this a challenge that they need to address.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think the bottom line with all of that too is that, when a company expresses their values, showing your company values and showing it values equity as part of maybe DEI. That's the E part, right? The equity can help increase its reputation, right? And we know reputation when it comes to both sides, right? From the job seeker, applicant, or from the company is very, very important.
Absolutely.
Looks like we have a comment over here. So Stephen writes, before we pop in, what are your thoughts about job applications that don't let you proceed further unless you choose a desired salary range from a drop down? Ooh, that's a good one. Leslie, do you have thoughts on that one?
I've experienced it with family members dealing with that, and it just becomes like, all right, if I want to go forward, I'm going to have to select something. Of course, trying to do research ahead of time to know where the target is, but it's playing a game. It's the lottery. I have to like guess that I'm going to pick that number within range. And my thought is, all right, if they're not going to let me through that gate without selecting something, then at least I'm going to know if I'm in range or not. And if I'm not, we're done. I don't like the game, but.
Right. Well, you can also, I think, hear it from me. If you don't want to play that game, play the game, right? If that's not aligning with your values, you can select the drop down and continue to go on and hope or whatever, or you can say, I'm just going to opt out of the process altogether and go for a different company. So, I mean, it's really a personal choice at that point.
Yes.
It's an unfortunate. It would be really nice to not have to make that choice and just have it be kind of clear and not drop down and hope that that's within what they're thinking. It's like playing a little game of ESP.
It's a game, and it's also back to like, these are some red flags that may or may not really reflect the culture, but it's a flag to consider.
Yeah, and Kimberly, it looks like she agrees, right? She's wondering if it's a way to screen people out. I think so, right? They want to see if they're asking you to put a drop down. I don't know. There could also be, like, on the charitable assumption side of things, it could also be the drop downs that they're giving you are all within their consideration, depending on how big the ranges are. If they're like, 5,000 or 10,000 in between, they could all be in the realm of, okay, they just want to know where you've been.
Well, I saw one where the range was not within those small ranges.
It's like tall.
And I want you to know the person actually didn't continue on. They thought that was just a reflection of, this is like trickery.
Right. And if it's not, it didn't match their own personal career values. So, all right. So let's move on to the third reason why companies should be posting this. And that is a big glaring one. It's that job seekers want it. I mean, we've heard, even just promoting this event, we've seen all of the comments from people saying that they wanted that. But beyond that, a recent Paychex survey revealed that the number one red flag for job seekers was job postings without salary. So we know it's like in black and white. That's the number one thing that people are looking for. And then from our own informal poll, I stuck up a poll a couple of days ago, and I think, it's not, again, small sample size, always give the little disclaimer. I think it's like 200 something people, but it was the same. It was resounding, right? 96% of people wanted the pay ranges included in job posts. And so when part of the job seekers wanting it, when you have that pay transparency, you're going to attract the talent that aligns with a better match for both sides, like Leslie was saying before. Okay, so, I think Anne here is saying, yep, she would stop it if she saw, this is back to that drop-down question, she would stop it and couldn't go through with it. Yeah, I totally understand that. Okay, so number 4, why they should post it is it will increase retention, decrease turnover, and boost employee performance. And this is, you know, there's data back behind this. Like we already mentioned that, like when we see people see pay posted up front, it signals that the company cares about pay equity, right? But Harvard Business Review has recently reported that pay transparency has the positive impacts on employees' perceptions of trust, fairness, and job satisfaction, right? And we know that when employees are happy in their jobs, then they have better performance. So it boosts individual task performance as well. All of which goes back to the bottom line, which we talked about earlier. So these are all great reasons for number 4 here.
Absolutely. And let's get to number 5. Last but not least, it first of all keeps employers compliant with laws, the ones that do exist. It's the right thing to do. I can't emphasize that enough. And I know Ann and I have talked about this topic. We really predict that the future of hiring will be led by those companies who are transparent about pay, benefits, and more. It is good for the individuals and for the business. This is not just talking about like, let's make it more fair for employees. This actually will result in good things for the business.
Yeah. So we'd love to hear, I'm sorry, Leslie, we'd love to hear, what questions do you have for us?
Stop.
Yeah. And this is a big one. And I know there's a lot on both sides. And you know, I want to just share that we both have empathy for people who are either in recruiting positions or in, you know, HR or in the leadership determining these things. It's a big overhaul, right, to do this. And so understand why there can be some resistance. But at the same point, I think that ultimately it will be good for business.
Absolutely. And I just know the times that I've been the hiring person, it always worked better when we knew where we were at. I didn't want the person coming in if what I was offering was so well below what they were looking for, then that wasn't a match.
Yep.
I wanted us both to be in the same range. Of course, there was always a negotiation of like where the person would fall in the range, but it became a much more informative discussion versus this guessing game.
Yeah. And going back to that retention, right, Leslie, talking about that, if they come in, even if they accept something, let's say they go all the way through and the employee or the applicant says, okay, all right, I'll accept this lower pay. They're usually not as happy. And that means that they leave a lot sooner.
Sure.
So, you know, especially when there is something that comes along.
The other piece that also has impacted me personally, as well as when I've employed people, are the benefits. I always felt like that was hidden. And yet I really meant it when I said to my future employers, like, well, I'd really like to understand the whole package because it really isn't all about the money for me.
Yes.
It is about not only like the traditional benefits, medical care, vacation. How does that all work? Hey, Liz, you know, there's all kinds of new programs with unlimited PTO, some limited PTO.
Yeah.
All those things add up. Why does it have to be a secret? Because for me, that will change what range I'm in.
You know, you're right. It's the total compensation package, right? And of course, job listings have word limits. So it's hard to get everything in there, but you're correct. Like a lot of people will look at the total package.
Oh, Hella brings up a great point that the employees don't share salary information.
Yeah, and that goes back to that culture thing that I think Adam was talking about.
It's almost like taboo.
Some companies will actually say you can't, but I mean, it's different in every country, every state. But in America, I mean, that's actually against the law, right? Like you should be able to speak about wages with fellow employees. But I've worked at places before where they, you know, kind of smack your hand if you say something. So, you know, what's law, what's real, what's policy, and what's in practice often aren't always the same thing.
Sure, absolutely. So should we get to we're getting to that closing point. Everyone
Yeah.
knows where to go.
I want to thank all of you for joining again. This has been such an interesting conversation. I love hearing all of your thoughts, and we love hearing thoughts that may not align with what we're saying either. So we open that discussion. So if you wanted to say more, let's keep the conversation going. It doesn't have to stop here. So follow us on LinkedIn for more career and leadership talk, and then send us a message if you want to keep talking.
Please. And stay tuned for our next monthly Career Matters live stream, topic to be announced. Of course, we always welcome suggestions.
Yeah.
And we look forward to seeing you in October again.
All right. Bye, everyone.